Hello, folks. This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle, coming at you live with an update on some issues that affect you. You can follow me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble, where I post periodic videos about various events. I have a new Twitter account now, Keep AR Legal. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Keep Arkansas Legal and Truth Social, as well as Gab and Parlor and MeWe. Big story that's coming out is the ICE protests that have been going on. And for those who don't know, ICE is Immigration Customs Enforcement. They have been having to deport illegal aliens. Most states are actually cooperating with this effort. They are. What happens is what typically happens is an illegal alien will commit another crime. They will be detained by local police. And if they are on hold for ICE, ICE will come in and just simply pick them up. They will be transferred, and there'll be hardly any incident whatsoever. That's the typical procedure. However, in many blue states, such as Minnesota, what is happening is the local law enforcement and the local government officials are refusing to hand over illegal aliens who have committed various crimes, some of them very violent crimes. And in that instance, Immigration Customs Enforcement, when they find someone that is a threat to the community, they have to go in and use force to detain these people. And there's often incidents and violence just in of itself regarding that incident. And then you have leftist protesters who are now showing up when ICE is conducting raids and committing all kinds of distractions and sometimes even having violent confrontations. Of course, there's been people that have even been killed because they got into physical altercations with ICE. And it has just been kind of a mess regarding that issue. Unfortunately, what another effect that's happened is these protests against Immigration Customs Enforcement is being encouraged by people. There's organizations that are paying for these protests, and there's also people that are apparently encouraging kids to participate in these protests. This is a story from Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Little Rock Central High students stage walkout to protest ICE. And then I have the video of it here on YouTube.
Just stand by while some of my best friends.
I can't operate as quickly as.
What did you say?
I said I cannot operate.
No.
Sometimes YouTube shorts tend to. Let me see if I can get it onto YouTube again. Hold on just a second. There we go. Okay, number one, that's an absolute lie. ICE is a department of the federal government. Its job is to enforce immigration law. And the instances where people are getting hurt is because they are actively going out and committing acts of violence against ICE. And people are not picked up because of their appearance. They're picked up because their immigration status, because they're here illegally. And oftentimes they are targeted by ICE because they've also committed another crime. No, they need to be learning how to do basic skills so they can become employed. That's what the public school system is supposedly what we're paying all our tax dollars for. By the way, the education system is a large part of both the state and federal budget. So keep that in mind. Your tax dollars are one way or another paying for this. No one's illegal on stolen land. That's become one of the big chants in these ICE protests. It's, of course, an act of major hypocrisy because what do you define as stolen land? We currently are under a constitutional republic of the United States Constitution, and then, of course, of within our state, we have our own state constitution in regards to property rights. So it's a little difficult to identify what's stolen land, and there's actually a celebrity who has gotten embarrassed regarding that very phrase that I'll get to in just a little bit. Let me play the rest of this. So it plays there again. I'm not going to replay the whole thing again. But Arkansas Democrat Gazette, of course, a lot of the local media seem to more or less support this type of effort. I don't know. Having a little bit of technical difficulty here. But anyway, you get the gist. These people are, and of course, their local media often promotes these events. They give them a little more coverage than they really should, and oftentimes don't hear anybody from the other side. For instance, we never hear from the family of Jennifer Morton, the Arkansas nurse who was killed by an illegal alien a few months ago. We don't hear from people who are sick and tired of the problems regarding illegal migration. We never get this much coverage from angel families. And so the schools, of course, won't teach about the crime committed by illegal immigration, how it doesn't work, the corruption in these third world countries where a lot of the people are actually protesting this. There's certainly more coverage of this than there was of the people that are protesting against the Iranian regime or the protests for that matter in Mexico. And again, most of the cause of these people having to immigrate with an E to the United States is because their governments are corrupt. And again, you rarely ever see any kind of major discussion regarding that. I don't know why there seems to be a short in my camera here. I've had to enable it multiple times. Here, and consequently, because of this and other behaviors by the public school system, we end up with stories like this. This was posted just a few days ago. Arkansas public schools face steepest enrollment drop in 20 years amid. Now they're claiming it's amid voucher rollout. They're claiming it's because of the vouchers. Is the Learns Act is the reason why kids are leaving the public school system. And it gives some of the details here. Arkansas public schools have lost a net total of 8,916 students, a decline of nearly 2%. In Northwest Arkansas, Springdale School District has also lost nearly 600 students, while Fort Smith has lost about 400. Here in Central Arkansas, LRSD has lost about 600. So that's 600 less students that'll be participating in an ICE protest. Now, of course, this story goes on to claim that's because of the millions spent on Arkansas Learns, but in reality, it's because of leftist stuff like this. And this is hardly the first example where leftist activism is used in public schools at taxpayer expense to indoctrinate kids into participating in something when they really should be, again, learning basic math, science, and other skills that they can use to get a job. Again, I am not sure why okay, apparently my webcam is apparently having some difficulty, so I'm just going to leave it off. Maybe I'll show it Click it on at the end. And I went ahead on Twitter X. If you go there, you'll see all kinds of things that are going on regarding ICE protests. Here's an example. These they're getting kids to step in front of vehicles, which is very dangerous. I mean, not only you could get harmed by a vehicle, but then law enforcement may come up and try to stop you as well. I really don't want to play the audio of this because it's probably a lot of bad language, and this is very dangerous. And that's what happens. You can get easily detained and arrested. And if you look at the stories of some of these illegal aliens that they're defending, a lot of them are just horrible people. They're murderers, molesters, scam artists, people who've scammed people out of millions. They're just criminals that have repeated multiple violations of that are harming lots of people, and yet they're the ones being defended. Here's a story from American Thinker about that very issue. And I'm not going to read this whole thing. The criminals include terrorists such as Egyptian and Mauritanian nationals who specifically target American Jews. One guy had a makeshift flamethrower, Molotov cocktails. The murderers and rapists such as the Venezuelan killers of Lake and Riley and Jocelyn Nungari. Some of these are people that have killed their own family members. Oftentimes, of course, they're immigrants, but again, the ICE protesters don't care. They've attacked law enforcement officials. Of course, drunk drivers like the one that killed Jennifer Morton. Many of the offenders have also been deported several times that managed to once again illegally, recently under Biden. Biden, of course, both opened the border and made it easier for those who were here illegally to simply sneak in. I'll post a link to this article so you can see it here. But again, this has been a huge problem. And I talked about this a little bit in the last broadcast where I talked about the Arkansas bishop who promoted a leftist agenda again. He's been a huge supporter of the illegal alien agenda. And this is why my image that I had here regarding these protests, my thumbnail for this was actually one of a protest from Chicago where they use a sacrilegious thing of it's an image of Trump being crucified. Because of course these people don't care about anything sacred at all. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and add this graphic so you can see what it is I'm talking about. I made this as the thumbnail for this video while I was waiting to get people to get on here. But again, these are the people that are oftentimes teaching your kids. Here it is in the upper left corner. And they're doing so at your expense. And the sad thing is there's a lot of people that are teaching our kids that don't want anything to do with this. They're just out. They want to, actually educate people, but it's so difficult with all the political stuff that's going on in our public school system to really get any chance to, people who want to educate really are having a hard time because of this kind of political stuff that goes on within the schools. And that's why a lot of people are pulling their kids out of the public school system. They're wanting things like vouchers. They're wanting to homeschool. And, can you really blame them? And so, what I want people to learn from this is you really need to watch out what is going on in the public school system. You kind of have to, you almost have to patrol them almost like it's almost like a daily chore to have to try and keep up with what's going on, because you may have one good teacher, but then you may have a few good teachers, but then you'll have another one that's trying to get them involved in this type of stuff. And this isn't even the most dangerous thing that happens in public schools. And of course, one of the other issues regarding protecting your kids is making sure they're not listening to celebrities. One particular celebrity is that just recently involved in this issue is leftist singer Billie Eilish. And I'm sharing this. This is from Truth Social. Billie Eilish lives in a $14 million mansion in Los Angeles. She once made a tirade a few days ago during the Grammys, which I did not watch, where she repeated the line about there's no such thing as stolen land, or you can't do anything because of stolen land, that little stupid phrase. Well, her $14 million mansion just so happens to be on the property of a tribe known as the Tongva tribe, and somewhere in California. I'll play a little bit of this just to kind of see what he's talking about here.
At the Grammy Awards, singer Billie Eilish, pretty famous person, had this to say. Here's cut one.
No one is illegal on stolen land. And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And I say sorry.
That sound dropout that you heard was Billie Eilish making a profane statement against ICE, by the way. Starts with an F, ends with a U. Very classy way to talk about the police, Billie. What does she mean by stolen land? Radical communists like Billie Eilish, who profits handsomely, I might add, from American capitalism, believe that America was stolen from the Native Americans, meaning that we have no right to enforce laws today, chiefly immigration laws. By the way, Billie Eilish lives in a $14 million mansion in Los Angeles on property that was once inhabited by the Tongva tribe. So far as we can tell, she hasn't taken any steps to return her mansion and surrounding property to its rightful owners, but we'll keep you posted. People like Billie Eilish are, of course, stupid, but what she says has influence. And what she means is that she doesn't believe the United States actually exists as a legal entity.
Okay, so you can kind of get the gist of that. Matter of fact, I may go ahead and get this link here, and Citizen Free Press, Scott Jennings, so you can look at the rest of that. But you get the idea. And sadly, again, these little kids over here that are in this story, these Little Rock Central High School students aren't going to be told that. So I did a little bit of my own research, because this is Little Rock Central High, but they've had these protests all over the state and all over the nation. So I did, the Tongva tribe is where Billie Eilish is at, but who owns the land for that these Central High School kiddos live at? So I actually looked it up here. This is a Tribal Nations of Arkansas map. This is from indigenouspeopleresources.com. So you can kind of guess what the accuracy of this is. But this was the tribal land that Central High is on now. The Osage are up in northwest Arkansas. I don't know how far they've gone. Of course, there's no real border lines that you see here, because part of the issue is that a lot of the Native American tribes didn't really have borders. I'm not going to try to pronounce all these names. It looks like either the Tula or the Caddo Confederacy were in the central Arkansas area. Yazoo, Naslany. I'm only going to pronounce the small ones. So if they had to protest in Fayetteville area, which a lot of times there's leftist activism, I'm sure some of the college kiddos are involved in that. They are living on the stolen land of the Osage. The ones in central Arkansas, they're probably in the Caddo Confederacy or maybe the Quapaw. I say this because I also want to show this other map right here. This is a more updated map. This is around 1750. And it has, I don't know if these borders are accurate or in dispute or whichever, but here the Osage kind of cut this area. Looks like the Quapaw took over, and then here's the Caddo. So central Arkansas is right here. It looks like they are on stolen Quapaw land. You notice some of those other tribes are gone because they probably got beaten to death with rocks, which is how usually tribal disputes are settled. I mean, if you want to go through Native American rules, then it goes both ways. You have to accept Native American customs. So if you want to abolish the U.S. Constitution and go back to that system, you're going to have problems. Mainly, you're going to have, that was tribal warfare. And it got pretty brutal back in that day. I mean, you can forget about women's rights and all that stuff. That was out the window back in that day. If you were... So I don't know if these people really know what it is they're actually protesting. They're just getting a slogan and being told to roll with it. And everybody from Billie Eilish to these kiddos are being involved in this disgusting act here. So here, I'll post the links of these as well. Especially this one right here. This one kind of goes into, I think, a little more detail. You can get all kinds of resources about the Native Americans. But this particular map I'm showing here, and by the way, this is done by people that seem to support the Native Americans. So if you can see about that. But the point is, a lot of these kiddos that are protesting have no idea what they're really protesting for and about. And again, if somebody looks at this and decides, you know what, I don't think my kid needs to be in public school, then yeah, all the better. Let me switch to my cyberlink. Not sure if it'll let me. Moving. If you looked at the top going on of grade 22 hours ago, posted by Brian Area State. Area State or anyone else is doing this. But so apparently there was they gathered signatures to put on the ballot, the chance to have paper ballots. Hand counted paper ballots. All kinds of efforts to keep it from getting put on the ballot. There were efforts to keep from gathering signatures put on there. There's been the signature gathering process for the state of Arkansas has, for all intents and purposes, been completely sabotaged since then. But they did manage to, and they've had a few elections now in Independence County where they have done hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. As far as I know, there has been no issue regarding that. There were lawsuits. Apparently, there was a lawsuit that made it to the Supreme Court of Arkansas. They won. So there was a law changed regarding the way this can be handled. And then the Independence County Quorum Court, that's the county government body there, voted 9-0 to erase the paper ballot issue. So Brian Norris is suing Independence County and every quorum court member who voted to, of course, as he said, steal your vote. And here's the details of that lawsuit. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will post a link to this. So again, if y'all want to see this, if y'all see this message and it's like, what is he talking about? You can go here and see this on your own. Now, I don't know the opinion of other candidates for Secretary of State, if they're for this or not. So you can check that out on your own, see what they feel about this. There will be many forums where these candidates are running for office. You can ask them on your own what they feel about this. And then last thing I wanted to talk about is I just found this website and it seems very informative. It's called Tracking Arkansas, and it goes through the various political things that are going on. This is the recent post that they did regarding Saline County. It goes in the details about some of these political action committees. It talks about some of the what they call PACs and how they're affecting elections. You can see the thousands of dollars that are doled around. $11,900. Capital consulting firm. And you really need to know who these people are. $50,000 here, so many hundreds of dollars there, and you find out who's really running campaigns and elections and who's going to be really running the state. And here it goes. $1 billion prison plan. That's that's the kind of money that we're talking about. So again, I'll just put the website, the Tracking Arkansas. Lots of things you can read on there. Find out what's going on. And when you all see this, keep in mind there's lots of other things that are going on, but I wanted to how even though we're a super red state, we seem to barely be able to get rid of our income tax, get rid of our stop paying money to organizations that hate us, like the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce, the Municipal League, these organizations that ran Arkansas for decades when the Democrats were in charge, and the reason why we're dead last. And sorry for the webcam here. It looks like it's kind of glitching, so I'm probably going to get rid of this thing, get a new one. But anyway, check me out at Just the Right Angle, where I give you real news, a background on what's going on, not just out to promote a leftist thing like what the Arkansas Dem Gas is doing, but actually tell people the background of why we have these problems here. Because kids do not need to be involved in these protests. No reason for high school kids to get involved in this. Okay, they need to be told the truth of what's going on in their state and nation. Here I'm going to So I don't know how many of her friends have been killed. She's acting like a bunch of her best friends are being taken and harassed and beaten and killed. Who are they? The only two people I know have been killed is Renee, what's her name? The lady who tried to run over an ICE agent with a car, and the guy who was a nurse but had to be fired because he was so violent, who got into a conference, who carried a gun at an ICE protest and then tried to get in a physical altercation. Those are the only two people I know that have been killed. And if there's some others, most likely it was done because they fought ICE. Notice the background music. That's added in there by whoever posted the video. So apparently Arkansas Online decided to add some music into their video. I don't know why Arkansas Online did that. Again, I'm just kind of recapping, I'm finishing up what I talked about at the beginning. Now, that's not courage, that's being indoctrinated. The good news is that most kids are not involved in this. A lot of them are just in this to skip school, and most of them are actually trying to learn. This is only a small. You notice they don't actually give the actual numbers of how many people were involved in this. And more good news is more and more people are waking up and realizing that they've just been lied to by the big media, the taxpayer-funded education system, and more people are also realizing what we need to do is clean up things like the Republican Party, kick out the consultants that have been running it, and make efforts to do true reform. So, folks, anyways, find me on Just the Right Angle. You can see some of my links there. My new Twitter X account, Keep AR Legal, Keep Arkansas Legal on YouTube, MeWe, Truth Social, Gab. Anyway, have a good day. Remember, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan.
Why did you make that silly grin?